Hey my loves, I'm Ellie Frost, and on this channel we're talking about the multi-dimensional approach to rapidly and radically healing and transforming during and after narcissistic abuse. And this video today is about narcissistic abuse and unresolved issues, right? Remember, the foundation of a relationship with a narcissist is based on a trauma bond, right? So what you'll find in the relationship is there's never any closure to things. Yeah, most of them are compulsive liars. If they're pathological liars a lot of the time, you may never find out the truth from the narcissist of anything, right? And this leads to all sorts of other traumas, right? Within us. There's an injustice trauma, right? Where we feel it's unjust. There's a betrayal trauma, right? And again, don't get too worried about identifying what traumas you've had, because in my work, there's just some root traumas that we clear and heal, and they kind of relate to all the other traumas we go through, right? But one of the most frustrating things about being with a narcissist is the confusion. That's how they want you, by the way, because the trauma bond works by siphoning your energy. So when you're ruminating, when you're confused, when you're going over things, when they won't give you any closure, not just when they finish the relationship or you finish the relationship, but on anything, right? I mean, simple questions they won't answer or they'll lie about. This is so frustrating because, again, and if you ask them, why are you lying, right? They'll probably not have a lot to say to you, or they won't admit most of the time that they are lying. But keeping you in confusion, keeping you in rumination, keeping you going over things keeps you on the hook. And remember, that's exactly where they want you in this cycle, on the hook, giving your energy away to them. That is part of this process. And it's really difficult for us. Yeah. If you are seeking closure, no, you're not going to get it with a narcissist. Very unlikely, right? If you are seeking to know the truth, the absolute truth, I know I was, you just want to know the truth. You want to know what the reality is, what really happened to you, then very unlikely to tell you that, right? That isn't their game. Their game is to keep you on the hook, to keep siphoning your energy, to keep you trauma bonded. When we're trauma bonded, right, we want the person who took the pain to take it away. And it's hard for us to know what's happening because we feel a very strong pull, a very strong enmeshment towards our abuser, right? And we can think, well, that must mean that I really love that person. But when you're trauma bonded, like heroin addicts have said that addiction to heroin was less strong than addiction to a narcissist. That's actually been said by people who have had serious addictions, right? So you've got to bear in mind that there's because of what they do when they trauma bond you biologically and chemically, right? It's a chemical, biological response in our bodies. That trauma bond can feel really, really tough to break. Yeah, and I have got some videos on this channel about breaking the trauma bond. If you want to break the trauma bonds, though, do join my program Sovereign, because that goes through the work. That will give you tools that you can use every day very quickly to really break free, right? So the traumas we go through about, the injustice, the not knowing, the betrayal, because when you're with someone, especially if it's an intimate partner, there's a betrayal there when someone won't give you closure, won't give you resolution. But remember, we want joy, happiness, resolution. The narcissist doesn't. They want you trauma bonded. So it's not in their interest to give you closure. It's not in their interest to give you the truth. And sometimes you're better off just cutting your losses and not knowing the full truth. I don't know the full truth of what happened in my last relationship. I don't know the full truth, right? I know enough to know that he's a narcissist and it was unhealthy and that he betrayed me. But I will never get to the bottom, and I'm not going to waste my time and energy getting to the bottom of what really happened, right? But when you have to find closure within yourself, right, rather than someone giving you closure by kind of telling you the truth and, giving you that time and information that we then feel, we want closure basically so we can feel that we can let go. What we have to do ourselves is learn how to let go without someone else deciding to give us closure or not, especially if you're with a narcissist. So how do you do that? The more you are aware of what this person is, the more that you're clear that this was a narcissist or could have been, right? The more that you're aware that the relationship was based on trauma bonding and abuse, the more that you're aware that you've become diminished and less of yourself and devalued, right? The easier it is just to say, right, I take the decision to give myself closure. I close this off because this is not my standard for who I want to be with, right? I won't accept this behavior in my life. I can put a firm boundary there. So we give ourselves the closure. We don't need anyone else on this planet to help us let go. Now, forgiveness, I teach that forgiveness, because people try and force forgiveness when they're not ready to forgive. Let forgiveness happen in its own time, right? The more you are healed of the trauma bond, and again, join Sovereign if you can, because it is excellent at releasing this, then over time, you will find it easier to forgive. But people who are trying to force forgiveness, it's a natural process that happens. And forgiveness is just letting go. You can forgive, you don't have to forgive the behavior, right? You just have to let go of its attachment to you, right? If I haven't forgiven you, I'm still resenting you. I teach this in Sovereign, right? When I let go of the resentment, when I've cleared my energy field, when I'm not resenting you for what you did to my life because I've just managed to heal from that, yeah, then forgiveness is just part of like, I accept that was a narcissist and I forgive them because they were doing whatever they do, right? They are a narcissist. They behave in the exact same ways. That is their role on the planet, yeah? So forgiveness can take time. I do a lot of work on this in my program, right? And so you can accelerate the process so that you'll find it easy to forgive. But people are trying to forgive when actually maybe they don't need to. You don't have to forgive to set yourself free, right? You have to let go. You have to let go of the trauma bond. You have to kind of, when you heal from trauma, you kind of reconcile within yourself. You come back into yourself. You come back into the fullness of you, right? And let forgiveness come in its own time through your healing work. Don't try and force it. Forgiveness isn't a sign that you've healed, right? A sign that you've healed is when you take your life back, when you take control of your life back, when you're being your true self. That's it. When you're your authentic power again, that's a sign that you've healed, right? And let forgiveness come in its own time. I really recommend that, right? Because if you're being your true self, if you set new standards and boundaries in the universe, if you're energetically strong, right, then, and you're no longer a match for narcissists. I'm not saying that you couldn't get manipulated. They are master manipulators. So that, but like when you've got you back, maybe in a way that you've never had before, you've healed, and you allow forgiveness to kind of come in its own time. You can intend to forgive and let that happen, but don't overly focus on forgiveness. Focus on becoming you. Focus on your standards, your values, your boundaries, who you want to become. That's so much more important, right? Because when you do that, like, you just let go of anything that isn't allowing you to be your full self. So I hope you like this video. Please keep liking, subscribing and sharing. Lots of love, and I'll speak to you soon.